I don't just talk about other people's stuff, I also make my own. Books in particular. To date, I have 4 books you can check out on Amazon. Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, Occult Mafia, Emerald of Maddox City, and the short story collection Assorted Absurdities, Tales of Kaiju Punk and Other Genres. Hop on down to the description for Amazon links to all 4 books. Enjoy whichever ones you read, and enjoy the video.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni viewer, and I am also an OG Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fan.
I was a kid when the show first premiered, and since I liked both dinosaurs and kaiju, naturally I was drawn to the show where robot dinosaurs fought giant monsters every week. This translated into a desire to have action figures of the Dinozords, specifically the Tyrannosaurus and the Zord. After all, the T-Rex was the lead Zord based on an iconic dinosaur, and even if they weren't the leaders, everyone knew that Tommy Oliver and the Zord were the coolest parts of the show. And now I need a minute.
Okay, I'm better now. Anyway, the figures may have eluded me as a child, but Super7 has been releasing nostalgic figures like crazy recently, including a recent wave of Power Rangers figures as part of their Ultimates line. And there was one figure particularly in that line that I just knew I had to get. So let us take a look at their rendition of the Tyrannosaurus Zord.
The figure's packaging is not what I expected. The box itself is a large trapezoidal green package that reveals nothing of the contents. The only details are the stylized T-Rex symbol on the front and the Power Rangers logo on the back. This is just the slipcover though. Remove that and the window box displaying the Zord in all of its glory is revealed. There's even a description of the character on the back for added nostalgia. The figure and its accessories are secure in a molded plastic tray and held in place by twist ties that are easy to undo. I am happy to report that everything arrived intact. Alright, now that it's out of the box, we can get to the meat of the review. The first thing that stands out about the T-Rex Zord is how big it is. It stands just shy of 9 inches tall, making it bigger than most Godzilla figures I've got, and it's not a slim figure either. Most official Hasbro figures were made with the idea that the Zords can combine into the Megazord, but this figure wasn't made with that in mind, so no details are lost or added. That makes it pristine and completely accurate to the Zord as it appears in the series. When you get in close, the details can only be described as immaculate. So much care was put into both the sculpting and painting of the figure that I can find no real issues with it. Normally when I get up close in my examinations of collectibles, I can find something amiss about them, even if it's really minor, but not with this guy. Every part is exactly where it should be. Every color stays in the lines, no matter how small or how oddly shaped the painted area is. Wait a minute. Actually, I can find 2 spots that aren't completely perfect. First, the neck doesn't quite sit flat on the body, leaving a tiny bit of a gap between the neck and the chest. Second, the blue paint for the eyes seems to go ever so slightly beyond the lines. Do these bother me though? Not really. The gap between the neck and chest is slight and ultimately necessary for it to turn, and the eye paint looks like it was done deliberately to create a glowing effect, so this stuff is easy to forgive. In the end, I can see why they call this the Ultimates line, because this can only be described as the ultimate Tyrannosaurus Zord figure. Now, this isn't a statue, it's a figure, which means it can move, and the articulation, like the sculpting, is exquisite. Now, admittedly, the Zords always had limits to how much they could move, and those limits are present on the figure. You cannot move the arms past the bulky shoulder pads, and the legs are limited by the hips. Even so, there's a lot to work with here. The arms and legs have a bit of swivel to them, and the knees and elbows can twist as well as bend. A joint in the middle of the torso allows you to turn the figure's top half completely around, something it could never do on the show. You can turn the neck similarly, but the head can also turn independently of that. Both upper and lower jaws are on separate hinges, much like the Hammond Collection dinosaurs, thus allowing for a wider range of expressions. Even the tail is segmented, and although the base is affixed firmly to the body, the rest of it can curl and twist in any direction. The Tyrannosaurus Zord comes with 3 sets of interchangeable hands. The pair that are attached when it ships are the neutral hands, which are slightly open and pretty much indistinguishable from each other. The other 2 pairs are open hands and closed fists. They're easy to switch out, but secure when in place. The open hands make the Zord look very aggressive, as though he's in the thick of battle, while the fists are good for putting him in a fighting pose. 2 tiny renditions of Jason the Red Ranger are included, one with arms akimbo and one with a fist raised triumphantly to the sky. These guys are incredibly small, even smaller than the little soldiers that come with the Playmates Mega Godzilla and Kong figures. At such a tiny scale, you can imagine they aren't that detailed, with only hints of white paint on the gloves, boots, and belts to break up the solid red. Yet even on these minuscule guys, the paint is expertly applied. They also really help provide a sense of scale for the Zord, emphasizing how big he is. As a last little touch for maximum nostalgia factor, the Red Ranger's power coin is included, emblazoned with the roaring T-Rex face on the front and a stylized Z on the back, or Z for any European viewers. To my surprise, the coin is actually made of metal rather than plastic, and it's got some heft to it. The fact that it was included at all just makes me smile because this too was an essential part of the series. The trickiest part about display for me is finding kaiju figures it looks good alongside. At this point, I find it looks better when displayed with larger kaiju figures like these Bandai USA versions of Godzilla and Kiryu. For smaller figures, it scales surprisingly well with the NECA King Kong and, of all things, the Titan Tech Monsterverse figures, although they don't have the same level of detail to look quite right. Well, Super 7 is coming out with Ultimates of Godzilla later this year, so maybe that'll do the trick. Scaling aside, the verdict is that this figure is amazing. I've waited years to have one of these in my collection, and it turned out better than I could have hoped for.
My only challenge now is finding a place to put it. Wish me luck. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni viewer signing off. Alright, next on the list is the Dinozord. Whenever that winds up shipping.
Congratulations, you reached the end. If you enjoyed this video, you might want to consider supporting us on Patreon. Of course, the other way to support us is to go to Amazon and check out our books, Operation Red Dragon, The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, The Occult Mafia, Emerald of Maddox City, and Assorted Absurdities, Tales of Kaiju Punk and Other Genres. Also check the description for links to DeviantArt and other platforms we operate. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.